Welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. We're hopping down the bunny trail today with my co-host Dawn Shabby Meets Bling and Annie of Crafting with Indiana Jones. As the title would imply, it's all about bunnies today, so let's get into it. Recently I made a couple of faux cast iron finials. Loved the look so much that I decided to create a bunny to match. And I happened to come across this adorable actual cast iron vintage bunny doorstop. So this is our inspiration, our jumping off point. We're going to be using some DAS air dry clay, a 2.3 inch and a 2.8 inch foam ball, as well as half of a 1.9 inch foam ball. We'll need a wood disc and some toothpicks. I'll grab a handful of clay and knead it to condition it. Kneading it will distribute the moisture, which is going to prevent the clay from cracking. So we're going to roll it out nice and thin, big enough to cover our balls. I'm going to start with the body ball, but before we do that, I'm going to press 2 flat spots, top and bottom, on this larger ball. This is so that we can stack them to make our bunny. You feel me? Alright, so I'm just pressing the ball onto the table to create those spots. And now we're going to wrap the ball with the clay. You know what? I'm going to trim it down a wee bit first. Makes it easier to handle. Okay, so now I'm just going to press the clay into the foam and I'll roll it around on the table. This is going to help to smooth the clay as well as to make sure that it's really stuck on that styrofoam. I fill in any of the bare spots with the spare clay, and we're going to continue to cover the foam ball with the clay until it's completely covered. I do try to roll it on the table after every time I add a little bit of clay. This really does help to keep the ball nice and smooth. Once the ball is completely covered, I'm going to lightly dampen it. I'll use both my fingers and the back of a plastic spoon to smooth out the majority of the bumps. Now we do want a little bit of texture on this guy because we want him to resemble cast iron. So, we want a little bit of that detail. Now onto the smaller ball. I'm only going to need 1 flat spot here. So I've pressed that into place. And now I'm going to wrap the smaller ball with clay until it's completely covered, just like we did with the first one. And of course we're going to roll it around on the table and smooth it just like we did with the body. And I'm just going to grab one of those plastic spoons here to help me smooth it, just like before. We're also going to cover the half ball here, and I did push a small flat spot on the rounded part. That's going to help us stack all of the foam. And we're just going to cover this just like we did the other ones. This is a little quicker and easier, since it's only half a foam ball. So once I get it on there, I'll cut away all of this excess and we'll just smooth it out as best we can. This half a ball is actually going to be like the base for his feet. Okay, so now we're going to push a toothpick into the center of the larger ball to anchor the smaller ball to it. We're just going to center that as best as we can. As always, we're going to want to fill in that space between the 2 balls to secure the pieces together. So I'll roll a cane of clay and wrap it around, pushing it into the gap and incorporating the fresh clay with the existing clay. And I'm going to try to get this as smooth as possible. We are going to add a little more clay to this in a little bit, but we want it to be neat and tidy, right? So I'm just dampening the clay a wee bit with a paintbrush, and I'm smoothing it out so that the fresh clay gets pulled down onto the existing clay of the body and the head. It's pretty much just like spreading peanut butter. It's the same premise, really. And I'm going to try to make it as neat as possible. Right, so I'm going to stick a couple of toothpicks into his head on an angle. This is to give me a visual of the bunny's ears. This is going to help me to gauge where I want to put his snout. The ears will go on later. This does help. Okay, that looks like, pretty good angle for the ears. So now I'm going to score the area where I want his snout to go. And I've rolled a small ball of clay, which I'm going to add right there where I'm scoring. And we'll incorporate that clay with the clay on the face. This guy's going to have a subtle wee snout, just like the inspiration piece. Now I'm going to use a toothpick to attach the body to that half ball that we covered in clay. Again, this is like the basis for his feet. So once again, we're going to fill in the gap between the half ball and the body with a cane of clay. It's the same exact process that we did to attach the head and neck together. So we'll wrap it around there and dampen it and smooth it just as we did before. Now I'm rolling a thicker cane of clay to create the collar of his sweater. I'll get it wrapped around in place, snip off any excess. I'm going to do a little incorporating and a little shaping. I'll add some detail so that the collar looks like it's a ribbed knit. I'm going to take a tiny bit of clay here and roll out a wee carrot for him to hold. His one hand will have the carrot and the other hand will be in a pocket in his pants. And I'm going to put some of those wee lines in there that a carrot would have. To create his ears, I have a nice thick lump of clay here, and I'm going to use my leaf cookie cutter and cut out 2 ears. You can see it's really nice and thick, which we want because we're going to want to round them out, and this will give it much more support, being nice and thick like this. I'm going to cut off the ends of the leaves, get rid of those stems, and make them a little more size appropriate. I pushed a toothpick on the appropriate angle on the top of his head, and now I'm going to score that area and then attach one of the ears. Once I get it just the way I want it, I'm going to come back in and add some more clay around the base of the ear and smooth that out so that it adds a little extra support there. Now that I have this ear in place, I'm going to use my ball tool to do a little shaping of the ear, rounding it out a wee bit, and I'm also going to add the groove inside the ear. I'm going to add the second ear and repeat the process. To create his arms, I rolled a thicker cane of clay. I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise. I'll use a piece of toothpick to anchor the arm, So once I get into place, I'm going to score the clay around the toothpick, and then I'll push the arm into place. I'm going to roll over this seam at the back of the arm to incorporate the clay of the arm with the clay of the body. And I'm going to work my way along that arm, making sure that the clay is completely incorporated and that the arm is on there nice and sturdy. This is the arm that's going to be holding the carrot, so I'm going to position the hand just where I want it, and here's the wee carrot. We'll stick it right in there and incorporate the carrot to the hand and to the body. You know the deal. Now to get his other arm in place, we're going to use a small piece of toothpick just like we did before. I'm going to get the arm attached. What I'm going to do is shorten this arm because this one he's going to have his hand in the pocket of his trousers. So in order to make it look like that, we'll cut a section off. And of course we're going to get, that section of the arm incorporated with the existing clay. Same as we did with the other arm. And I'm going to take this wee bit here, the rounded part, and add that back onto his arm, just like this. We'll incorporate that a wee bit. And this is what we're going to use to make his pocket. So I'm just going to lay that over top. I'll cut off any of the excess and we'll incorporate it. We want to make sure that there's a little bit of a bump there, so it really looks like his hand is in his pocket. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to add a wee bit of detail. Just drawing some grooves and lines with my pointy tool here, to make the impression of fabric. And let's mark off where his two legs are. There we go, delineate them so we have good definition. And now with some hot glue, we are going to attach him to that wood desk. Once he's in place, I'm going to roll a ball of clay, which I'll cut in half, and these will be the fronts of his shoes. I will incorporate the clay so that it's nice and smooth. There we go. I think that's looking pretty good. Boyo needs a bunny tail, so I'm going to use a toothpick to anchor it, roll up a ball of clay, and pop it on there. And of course, we're going to incorporate it. We're in the home stretch here. All we need to do now is roll a tiny wee ball and plunk it onto the end of his snout as his nose. Two more clay balls pushed into place to create his eyes. I'll incorporate these really gently so that I don't distort them too much. I'm going to use my ball tool here to add a little bit of texture. I think this will really kind of highlight the effect of cast iron that I'm looking to get. I'm going to add some of this paste to the wood disc to add a wee bit of texture. Once I finish up here, we're going to let this boyo dry overnight. Well, boyo is completely dry and he is ready for paint. So now, if you watched me do the cast iron finials, I used different colors that I'm going to use here. First thing I'm going to do is give him a full coat of Ceramcoat Burnt Umber. It's this nice, deep, dark, rich, chocolatey color, and it's a great place to start for the type of finish I'm looking for. Next, I'm going to dry brush with Maple Sugar Tan. This is also a Ceramcoat color. I'm really going to focus primarily on his sweater and his body with this color. I will do a little lightly in other places, like in the center of his ears. And a wee bit on his tail. Next, I'm going to come in and dry brush a layer or two of Ceramcoat Burnt Sienna. The Burnt Sienna is going to give me a bit of that rusty effect that I'm looking for. Next, I'm going to come in with Ceramcoat Charcoal. And I'm going to add this very selectively, around his eyes and a few odd places where there might be a deeper, darker shadow. That's where I'm going to use the charcoal. I want to add a little extra color to his carrot, so I'm going to come in with Pueblo and just slightly dry brush it, so that it looks more orange than the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? I've grabbed some holly green and I'm going to lightly dry brush at the base of the carrot where there would be, some green. And then I'm going to dry brush with the green all along the grass on the wood disc. I'm also going to come in with Americana Foliage green and give it a little highlight. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that. And now to finish boyo off, I'm going to use Deco Art Multi-Purpose Sealer and pounce it on using a cosmetic sponge. This will give it a lovely finished look and it'll add a layer of protection. Boyo's finished and ready to be displayed. Shall we take a look? Here he is, hidden amongst the plants, eating his wee carrot. He's quite happy there. I really love the way he turned out. I think he really does look like he's cast iron. Those little bumps and pits that we made with the ball tool in his face, I think they've really helped. All of the texture of the clay, it's just really lending itself to the finish. Now, although the inspiration piece was actually a one-sided piece, I really feel like this has captured the essence of the character, and I'm really happy with it. Let me know what you think. I want to thank Dawn and Annie for co-hosting with me. Please be sure to check out their channels. You'll find links in the description box, as well as a link for the playlist. Please be sure to check out everyone's videos and show them some love. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.